What's going on, guys? Trevor Barrett with Barrett Knives here. Here are 5 things that I wish that I knew before I started smithing. Stick around for the last one because I think it is the most important one. Number 1 is that the heat treat is 3 separate steps. In the movies, you always see the quench, where they take the hot steel and they dunk it into the water and that hardens the blade. And the quench does harden the blade, but that is not a full heat treat. The first step in a proper heat treat of a blade is normalization or thermal cycling. That prepares the grain structure of the steel to accept a quench and reduces the chances of warping and cracking. If you do not normalize your steel before the quench, then you're not doing a proper heat treat and you are much more likely to have issues with the blade once you're using it. The second one, of course, is the quench, where you're quenching it into typically a type of oil in order to harden that steel. But vitally important is the third part, the tempering. Tempering softens the steel slightly, but it then drastically cuts the brittleness of the blade. It makes it more flexible and it makes it more able to handle the abuse that a blade can use. So make sure you're doing all 3 steps for a proper heat treat. You are normalizing, quenching, and then tempering. Number 2 is shortcuts are okay. There is this idea in the smithing community from those who are less experienced, where they think that unless you do things genuinely, truly traditional, then you're not a real blacksmith or a real bladesmith. Now, it is true that if you're doing only stock removal and you're just cutting it out and grinding it out of a bar of steel, that is not considered smithing. But there's nothing wrong with stock removal. You can make some quality blades from stock removal, just like you can with smithing. But you will see a lot of different techniques now and a lot of different machinery that helps a modern day smith improve his craft. Things like power hammers, things like band saws, things like hydraulic presses. There's all kinds of different things that you can use to help you improve your craft. So do not let anyone tell you that you are not a true blacksmith if you're not doing things fully traditional. Because all throughout history, smiths are known to use the most modern techniques and technology available to improve their craft. So make sure you don't neglect the hammer and the anvil. That is your fundamental. That is your core basis of your skill. But don't be afraid to take what many call shortcuts or cheats. Number 3 is that Hollywood does not understand blacksmithing. There's too many times in movies where you will see them do things that are completely impractical and just not accurate to how you properly smith a blade. You see it in Rambo a little bit. You see it in all kinds of high production TV shows and movies. One of the ones that gets me the most is when they take a hot bar of steel, quench it into water, pull it out, and then keep hammering on it. They just have an improper understanding of what it means to be a smith. And it is vitally important that you use movies and TV shows and even books as inspiration, but not as a how-to. Instead, do your research, take a class, do whatever you gotta do with trial and error, and teach yourself the proper form of blacksmithing and bladesmithing. Number 4, do not get into blacksmithing or bladesmithing for the money. Why am I saying that? But because if you're doing this for the money, you will be sorely disappointed. It takes years for many people before you can have a product that is a high enough quality to be able to sell beyond family and friends. And it takes a very long time to build it into a business that you can support yourself. Now, I'm not dunking on those who want to make this their profession. After all, that's exactly what I did. It is our sole income for our family right now. But the fact of the matter is that typically smiths do not make a lot of money. The cost for running a blacksmith shop is very high many times, and it can be difficult to find the clientele that will pay what needs to be paid in order to be able to offset the cost of this and turn it into a business. But the most important reason why I say do not get into this for the money is because that's the wrong motive. If you want to make money, try a different trade. But for crafting, for craftsmen, you need to be into blacksmithing or bladesmithing for the love of the craft and the love of the craft only. The clientele will come, The money will come, but do not focus on making the money. Focus on your product. Focus on enjoying the craft. Focus on fine-tuning your work so that you can be proud of every single piece that comes out of your shop. Whether it's a tiny little shed, whether it's a big, huge, fancy shop, whatever it is, focus on not the money, not the business side. Develop the core essential skills and the ability to make quality products first. And finally, number 5, it is the most important point that I wish I knew before I started smithing. Success is built on failures. You'll see it all over social media, and you'll look at these guys who show amazing works of art. There are guys who do the most beautiful things in their craft, but they didn't get there overnight. Many times it is years and years and years of failure. If I could show you my scrap bucket, you would be shocked at how many things I have broken and ruined throughout the years. Just recently, I snapped a blade. Ideally, it happens less and less the better that you get, but success is built on failure. So the first time you make something and you hate the way it looks, it doesn't perform well, and nobody wants to buy it, that's okay. That's all part of the process. It is an essential part. If you do not have the foundation of failure, then you have not tried hard enough to find true success, you could call it. Then once you figure out how you're gonna fix it, take another couple steps forward, try it again, try something else. Whatever you gotta do, whatever your process is, do it. But always remember that it's going to happen, and that's part of the journey. It's kind of a cliche thing to say, but that's honestly incredibly true. My name is Trevor Barrett. This is Barrett Knives. I appreciate you watching. Those are 5 things I wish I knew earlier. Subscribe for more, follow for more, whatever platform you're seeing this on. Make sure you hang around. I got more stuff like this coming.